let's get into the first topic of the day. First off, we are going to kick off with some really interesting stuff about space and how to create sustainable living conditions on any planet, here on Earth or some other planet. And we're going to have here on stage, first off, a keynote, and then a discussion with 4 professionals. And our first keynote is going to be Barbara Belvisi, founder and CEO of Interstellar Lab. And Interstellar Lab, they are finding a way to build sustainable living conditions on any planet. So she's going to tell us about the progress they've made, the people they have worked with, and all other kinds of interesting stuff. And after that, she's going to be joined by Bruce Pittman, Chief System Engineer at NASA Space Portal, Timothy Boyley, former Climate Change and Health Program Lead at World Bank, and then a really interesting one, Renata Clumska, a future astronaut at Virgin Galactic. So you're going to see a person here on stage who's actually going to go to space real soon. But first of all, let's give a big hand to Barbara Belvisi.
Earth, the blue planet, the third from the sun. 4.5 billion years of evolution. Interconnected biosphere with a multitude of ecosystems working together to maintain this flourishing life. Mars, the red planet, the fourth from the sun. Mars has ice poles, an atmosphere, and weather, but no life on its surface. Yet we are going to discover, to explore, and this time, to settle. Despite their differences, the 2 planets share common ground. What we need to bring on Mars for life is what we need to protect on Earth, right now. What if we could use the same technologies on both planets to build places where life would be preserved? Welcome to a new world.
Hi guys, hello. Very happy to be here with you today. So I'm the founder and CEO of Interstellar Lab. And so first thing I want to talk about is why I started the company a year and a half ago. So why Interstellar Lab? It's true that becoming a spacefaring civilization is one of the most exciting futures that we can dream of for humanity. But I often ask myself the question, how can we pretend that we're going to bring life to another planet when we can't protect life that we have on Earth right now? There will be no multi-planet species plan if we cannot make it on Earth first. So before we go to Mars, we also need to learn how to figure things out over here. And space exploration is absolutely not our enemy in making this happen. Space exploration, as in the past, still is and will in the future help us build a better future for human species here on this planet. What's our mission at Interstellar Lab? It's to build a future full of life on Earth and beyond. How are we going to do that? So by developing and building closed-loop villages on Earth, and also building all the systems and the life support technology that will be needed to build a regenerative life. The company is a combination of architecture, engineering, and science. We do run a lot of science, not only ourselves. We also teamed up with a lot of institutes and universities and big organizations to study more the climate of our planet, but also what's going on other planets. I'm very happy to be with you today. So November 2019. This is not the Black Runner introduction, but we're going to introduce today EBioS. So what's EBioS? EBioS stands for Experimental Bioregenerative Station. Experimental because we are building an experimental station on Earth using space technology. This is a place for scientists, for astronaut training, but also for the general public. People like you, like me, we will be able to go there to test a new way, to experience and experiment a new way of living on Earth. Bioregenerative, because we put biology at the core of the system. We are not only designing beautiful architectural domes or developing amazing hardware and software technology. We're mixing them with nature, because what we believe is in the long term, the only path for humans to live on this planet and on others is to live in harmony with nature and combining technology. And station, because this is a station. So the way we're designing it, we're looking at the Earth as if we were coming here for the first time. So if we were coming from space, if we were a species from a different planet, and we were settling for the first time here, how will the first habitats look like? And this is what we're doing. So a little bit more about the architecture. So its total surface, it's 70,000 square meters. It's designed to be a completely self-sufficient and regenerative place. We have 5 biodomes and 1 in the center that is at the core of the system, and that is a very important technology. I will give you a little bit more insight after. We have a science center, we have an astronaut training facility, and we also have an art, music, and health center. A bit more about the housing system. So the houses, we took a lot of inspiration from nature. Some people say that our housing system looks like orchid, which is kind of true. So inside the housing system, you have a greenhouse. So a greenhouse and the petals represent the habitats. We put the greenhouse inside the housing system to get the proximity with people and nature here on Earth, but also in space. And also it allows us to shorten the circuits and the way we can regenerate and put the water into the greenhouse, get the food production back to the housing system, and in space generate the oxygen that is needed for people to breathe. So that's the housing system. We have 3 flowers, we call them the flowers, that each of them can accommodate 35 people, so the station will be able to get 105 people on site. Then the water system. So the water system is really, really important, and we designed this first before even starting designing the domes, the greenhouse, and the habitats. Because when there is water, there is life. Your body is composed of I think it's like 70-ish% of water, and so as life is coming from water. So at the core of the system is the water. So we designed this at the very beginning. We're using on the phase 1 of the station, we're using very common filters and water treatment system, like UV disinfection, settling tanks, activated carbon filters. But our main innovation is the big round that you can see in the middle of this graph. The big round is what we call the constructed wetland. The constructed wetland is our patent-pending technology that we patented for the very beginning. It's very interesting to notice that we were thinking on how to recycle and treat the water on Mars and on the Moon, and we came up with this design. So it's an example and a proof that basically you can use a space settlement approach to design products that have direct application on Earth. And so this constructed wetland, so it's a gigantic dome, and inside we have 4 tanks. The 4 tanks are treating the water using plants and biology. And then we use the thermodynamics of the constructed wetland to capture in the air potable water. What it means that we can take black water, put that into a system using biology, hardware, and software in an environmental control system, and then we get potable water. And this application is not only amazing for our village, for our station, and maybe in the future on Mars, but this has tremendous application right now on Earth, and I'm especially thinking of countries where the access to energy and the access to proper sewage system is a problem. This might be able to save million lives. So this is a very good example on how space exploration is helping us on Earth. So the food production, we're making all the food directly on site. Within the greenhouses system, we have our own algorithm to select the crops. And the development phase. So we launching the construction of the first station early 2020. The phase 2, we're going to target to design ecosystem for space application. And in 5 to 7 years from now, we're looking at eventually shipping the first greenhouses to Mars. Yeah, so that's what we do. That's the EBioS experimental bioregenerative station. And thank you so much for your time. OK. And now I'm going to have, I was a little bit too long on the presentation, and we have a very interesting panel. So I will ask Bruce Pittman, Timothy Boyley, and Renata Clumska to join me right now on stage for the next discussion. Hello. Hello. Hi. Hi, guys. Hello. Yeah. OK. Thank you for joining us today. I'm very happy to have you. Do you guys want to introduce yourself? Maybe Renata?
Yeah, yes. Sure. So I'm Renata. I'm a professional adventure athlete, and I'm doing extreme expeditions, undertaking challenging projects, and making the impossible possible for over 2 decades now. Managed to become the first Swedish woman to summit Everest, done the 7 summits, circumnavigated the US, been bicycling, and doing a lot of fun stuff. And now I'm on my way to space.
Wow, adventurer. Bruce, can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Bruce Pittman. I work at the NASA Ames Research Center, and although I work there, I do not speak for NASA, so all the crazy ideas are mine. I'm also involved in a number of not-for-profits. One of them is the National Space Society. The other one is an organization I recently founded called the Future Frontiers Institute, and we're trying to establish a university on the moon.
Timothy?
Great. Yep, I'm Timothy Boyley, and I work at the intersection of environment and health, medicine and biotechnology, and try to put that together with conservation issues for mutual learnings and progress.
So some of the topic I want to talk with you guys today, so it's about making the link between sustainability on Earth, or maybe more regenerative way of living on Earth, and space. Tim, maybe we can start with you. So you are an ocean biologist. You've been involved in the past in climate policy at the World Bank. Can you tell us a little bit more, what is the status on Earth regarding life preservation?
Yeah, so there's a positive narrative and a negative narrative around that. So sort of starting with some of the negative things, right?
Yeah.
So the Earth has warmed 1 degree over the past century. Everyone knows that. We're on track to 2 to 4 more degrees of warming over the next century. We've depleted biodiversity by 60% since 1970s. We've removed 33% of the fish from the world's oceans. Wow. So there's lots of sort of negative things that are happening in the environment right now that we know about. But there's also a really nice positive narrative, too, because the countries of the world are coming together through this UN process. Governments have initiated contributions to try to reduce their overall climate impact. There's a number of large non-governmental organizations that are also working on this. The Earth Biogenome Project is a really interesting one, taking the latest in genetic technology to do sequencing to understand what's there for conservation purposes. And then, of course, the world of startups. There's many startups like yourself that are trying to bring some of these things together and make progress for conservation and global environmental aims.
Yes, that's true. Bruce, what have been your... So you've been 40 years working in the space industry, so you have a lot of experience, and you've seen, project happening, never happening, new things coming up. I got the chance when I started to spend some time with you at NASA Ames Space Portal. Can you tell me and tell the crowd a bit more on how, since the beginning, space exploration has been helping us on Earth, and what are the examples that we can show today?
So that's a really good question. What NASA's been doing is exploring space for the last half century, and we've pretty much gone everywhere from Mercury out beyond Pluto now. And we've learned a lot while doing that, and especially with putting people in space. With the International Space Station, we've had people living continuously in space for over 20 years now. So the question that we asked ourselves about 10 years ago was how can we take that knowledge that we've learned on how to live in space to learn better here on Earth. And one example of that is a new building that we built at NASA Ames called Sustainability Base. And this was the first LEEDs Platinum building in the federal inventory. It was managed or overseen by our Associate Director of Research, Dr. Steve Zornitzer. And he recruited Bill McDonough from the architect and author of Cradle to Cradle, to help design this building for us. And what we did is we took this space technology, we put it into this building to show what a building of the future can look like, how you can use this technology. So the water system in this building was designed for the International Space Station. It uses both forward and reverse osmosis. And what it does is it uses 90% less water than a standard building of its size. It produces twice as much energy as it consumes. So you can imagine, what would the world be like if all the buildings, or the majority of the buildings that were built in the future, had this kind of technology? So that's what we were trying to showcase there. And I think it's a really good example. If you go look at Sustainability Base at NASA Ames online, there's a website there. You can kind of see the building. It's designed to be a living laboratory, so we try out new building technologies in this building. So it's not only a functioning building with people living and working in it, but it's also a laboratory for new technology.
Yes, and actually I've been there, and it was a lot of inspiration when I started the company, because I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is actually working. This is a good idea. They've been doing it. Let's do it ourselves too. Renata.
Yes.
Yes. So you have a passion for the Earth. You've been climbing the Everest, the Kilimanjaro. You're exploring our planet. Most of the people make a difference between exploring the Earth and going into space. What does that mean for you?
Well, for me, I mean, we are already in space. For me, we are a part of space, and taking the step kind of to leave the Earth is, for me, is the most natural thing to do.
And you're looking at the stars right now, so you're training as an astronaut. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Well, as soon as I heard the possibility to become an astronaut, not doing it like the real astronauts do, but I mean for people who have the dream, because I believe that there are many of us who really want to go to space. I signed up for one of those programs, so I have ticket number 192 with Virgin Galactic, and I bought my ticket in 210.
Okay.
So I've been very
9 years
patient,
ago.
but space is not going anywhere, and to have that time before to really become one with that dream, to train and prepare. So I've done as much as I can as a civilian, and to expose myself to the different environments that I will eventually feel when I do that small. Yeah, the first trip for me is going to be really small and fast, but I can't wait just to see the Earth from a different perspective. It's going to be fantastic.
What do you think, and I'm going to ask all of you about this question, is actually what do you think, guys, about looking at the Earth from space? Yeah. A lot of astronauts have been experiencing what is called the overview effect. It's like you go off planet, you look at the planet, then you realize that it's interconnected biosphere. Yeah.
I mean, I've had that experience, reaching the highest point on Earth, standing on the summit of Mount Everest, really made me realize in my entire body what we are and how small we are. And that feeling will, of course, become even bigger when you're looking at Earth from the outside. And I think it's important that people do see things from other perspectives, that we look out and realize really the challenges that we have, the thin atmosphere. I mean, to see the world without borders, that's something that we've created. So I think everybody should go to space to see that.
Yeah, it's very interesting that it's super rare right now to find a globe of our planet without the borders. Yeah. I tried online. I was even thinking a couple of years ago to make a company to start selling these like globes of the Earth. But it's very rare. Yeah. People don't have this picture of the planet. Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's so much beauty and inspiration that can be sort of driven from these visual images. And so the point was made in your presentation as well, sort of in the very structure of your buildings, they look like a lotus flower, right? And so you see these patterns of nature repeating throughout. And if you want to sort of truly make scalable solutions, you've got to look toward nature. There's a new movement about producing technologies using biomimicry, you know?
Yeah.
And this is something that humans have been doing for thousands of years, and now we're taking it and we're technologicizing it, if that's a word, to get to that next level of progress.
Yes, that's true. Bruce?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to talk to a number of the Apollo astronauts, especially looking, it's one thing to look at it from near the Earth, either in Earth orbit or suborbital, and I've talked to some people that have done that, but to look at it from the moon, where it's just really tiny, and you get to see how small and fragile it looks. The Earthrise picture that they took, Bill Anders took on Apollo 8, was one of the things that they attribute the entire environmental movement to. The guy that started the Whole Earth catalog, he put that on the back cover of one of the first issues of the Whole Earth Journal, back in 1970, and the first Earth Day was in 1970. So I think that's a really kind of thing that I think everybody should do, if they get a chance to do it. And hopefully, with the way things are going, more people will be getting a chance.
I hope so too. I hope we're going to have a lot of astronaut training at the station.
Yeah, I can't wait to go.
Yes.
I'm first in line.
We have a long waiting list, but I will put you on the top.
Put me ahead.
Tim, I have another question about how integrating technology that are designed for a specific purpose, and then we can apply them to another field. I think this is what you're doing with your company.
Yeah, that's right. So I've got a few things running right now, and one of those is an ocean nanotechnology company. And taking billions of dollars that's been dumped into developing nanotechnologies for use in human biomedicine, and taking that same technology and applying it to build ocean sensors and more efficient systems for aquaculture, and so you can reduce disease and so on and so on. And so it's the reappropriation, the identification of the leading ideas in certain fields and reappropriating that to others. And surely there's so much translation between these space disciplines and oceans and environmentalism generally, and you just need to get these people together, discuss these ideas, and then reapply them to make these exponential gains.
Yeah. Bruce, you're very involved in lunar program. How do you see, it's a bit the same then with Mars, and so moon applications are in Mars application. Why do you believe that what we're doing in space, and especially regarding the moon base and the Mars discovery that are happening right now thanks to a new rover that is over there, how is it helping us here?
So one of the things that you get when you go out into space is that you have to do everything intentionally. You really don't have anything that you can take for granted. Where on Earth, you pretty much have a whole operating biosystem that we don't necessarily understand, but you have that, and so you're trying to figure out how to modify that. In space, one of the disadvantages, you got to provide everything, but one of the advantages, you get to do everything from the start the way that you want it to, and you need to understand the interaction of the pieces. I'm a system engineer, and so one of the things I tell my students is optimum systems are not composed of optimum components. So what you need to do is you need to build the system as a system, and you need to understand not only the individual pieces, but how they work together. And that's one of the things that we're hoping that by learning to live in space, we can then apply back here on Earth to help us understand this big, complicated world we live in.
Yeah. And there is a difference, now it's more for you, Renata, between going into low Earth orbit, and this is what Virgin Galactic is doing, and going to the moon and going to Mars. Do you want to go that far?
Oh, if I can bring my kids along, I would go as far as possible. No, for me, it's in the human nature to go beyond, what we can see and discover and learn and challenge ourselves. That's what made us come where we are now, and that's what's going to push us further. And so I think it's in many of us, it's in our DNA. Maybe we've forgotten about it, become too comfortable. But yes, I would go to Mars, even if it was a one-way ticket. You never know if you're going to come back. If I climb Everest or if I fly home today, you don't know what's going to happen. You just have to, of course, you want to minimize the risks, but there is always risks involved in living. So I would be absolutely prepared to take that risk. Hopefully come back and tell about it, of course.
That will be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess this is what is driving you.
Yeah. And I want to climb the highest mountain on the moon. And I believe it's just a question before somebody's going to do it. To see the view from there. So yeah, many dreams, and it's fantastic to have people who have the same dreams, but from different aspects, and together, it's going to happen.
Yes. Are you? It's a question for all of you because we're finishing up the panel. But how optimistic are you about the future on this planet and maybe on others?
I'm so optimistic. I think that we have all the opportunity in the world, you know, and there's people out there exploring in different directions and working hard and bringing that back and making change. And I look out and see all these people here with new technologies and new advancements, and I feel very encouraged.
And I think, you know, the thing that gives me the most hope is the young people, that they really seem to get it, they really seem to be engaged, and they seem to be passionate about making the world a better place.
Yeah, we are. Young people. Renata.
Oh, very optimistic. Again, I mean, I have 3 children on my own. I want the planet to be as, you know, the best that it can be, and we're going to make it. Very much thanks to what we're learning from space.
Thank you all, and thank you, everybody. Okay, enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Go this way.